For me, writing, storytelling, and creativity are different ways through which I can express myself, be it my thoughts, my ideas, my feelings, and everything in between. These three modes of self expression are quite vital to me at a personal as well as a professional level. I am also a trained Kathak dancer. I've been training in Kathak for close to 19 years now. And, sometimes when I fall short of words, my body, my face, my entire physical existence helps me communicate feelings that I cannot describe otherwise. So I feel that, in some way or the other, writing and storytelling through bodily movements are forms of communication with myself as well as the people around me. And amidst conversing with myself and the people around me, there is an element of creativity that flows in the process. So, these three aspects that you have mentioned, writing, storytelling, and creativity, are interwoven for me. They are not separate identities, and I don't think after a certain point I am able to segregate these three aspects because they all flow into each other. They kind of, you know, weave into each other. They merge and they become one unit, and that's what I kind of rely on to express myself to the best of my ability.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Closet Writer Chronicles. I'm your host Sangeeta, aka the Moody Marshmallow. You just heard our guest for today, Nainika Mukherjee. Nainika is a Kathak dancer with 18 years of training. She has a diploma with honors and a post-diploma from Kathak Kendra. Parallelly, she is pursuing an MA in psychology and has also studied dance movement therapy. Currently, she teaches at Sampada Kathak Studio. Before we move into the conversation, I want to give a quick shout out to Zencaster Podcasting Made Easy. So, I've been podcasting for about 2 years now, and I stumbled onto Zencaster while I was recording season 2 of the show. Though I only use the audio recording version, they have a video recording feature, and you can now edit your episodes on the platform as well. If you're a podcaster looking for an all-in-one podcast workstation, then check out Zencaster. You'll find a special offer link in the description of this episode for which you'll get 30% off by using the code ClosetWriter. Now let's tune in to hear about Nainika's journey with dance and psychology. Hi everyone, welcome to the Closet Writer Chronicles. This week I have Nainika Mukherjee with me. Welcome to the show, Nainika. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's so great to have you here. Thank you for taking the time out on a Saturday morning to do this. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've already mentioned in your introduction that you've learned Kathak and you're a dance movement therapist. That's something you're also pursuing. So
I would
yeah,
like to just pinpoint.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
a dance therapy trainee practitioner. So,
Okay.
yeah, we have to get really technical here because I am still undergoing the whole course stuff. We're in the last stages. So, I am a few months away from becoming a dance movement therapy practitioner. Until then, I'm a trainee. And to be a therapist, I have to do a separate registration and all of that. So, dance movement therapy practitioner, trainee.
Okay. So yes, you're on the way to becoming a dance movement therapist. But yeah, before we get into all that, I mean, obviously, I think the first thing I want to ask you is, what is your earliest memory of being creative?
Hmm. My earliest memory of creativity, I think, it's one of those very cliche things when you start dancing to a song, any song that comes on TV and you're dancing. My mother told me this that before I would leave for school, there's this one track she had to play, and I had to do like three circles of dancing and jumping, only then would I be prepared to go to school. I had to do that dancing. So she would take 5 minutes out, she'd play music, and I'm just dancing, dancing, dancing. And then I'd be pumped to go to school. I'd have this energy. So we go back 20 years when it comes to creativity. Another thing was I found pictures of me dancing. My mom had put me in a summer camp of sorts, and there were a lot of things. So there was dancing, singing, horse riding, even lots and lots of
Oh, wow.
things, arts and crafts. So there's a photo of me with your typical dolare step. So yeah, I that this also is my earliest memory of being creative. And of course, getting into my Kathak class at the age of 7, learning my first footstep. So these two, three things are my earliest memories of being creative. They're all within similar dates, definitely in a span of 1 year, but different months. So same time.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, that's interesting that you actually had the opportunity to kind of explore different things, at such a young age, right? You had that kind of opportunity and also freedom to do that, which is nice. But having said that, how did, Kathak start for you? Because you have been, learning Kathak for well over 15 years, almost 20 years, right?
Yeah, almost 20
Um,
years. Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, how did that happen for you? And, what has that journey been like till now for you? Like, what is the role of Kathak that way in your life? Since I assume it is very close to your heart and, a very integral part of your life and your being.
Absolutely. Kathak happened by chance. Okay. My mom and I were strolling, we were taking a stroll at the park, and there was this little poster that my mom stumbled upon regarding Katha classes. So we were walking in a park, and on our right, there's this little room of sorts, and uske darwaze pe there was a poster, Katha classes starting from January 2005, something, something, something. And my mom just went to inquire about those classes, and the next thing I know is that I am in that room with my first guru learning Tathe Thetat, Athe Thetat, which is
Okay.
basic footwork.
Okay.
So I wasn't told anything. From what I remember, I would like to believe my mother did not say anything to me. But I do know that she fought really hard to get me into dancing, because she believes that every person must have at least one skill that helps them, not just monetarily, but generally, something for people to fall back on, whether it is stress, whether it's anything, or just for fun, something that a person must have, so that you know they just because, like, I don't know how to exactly put this in words, but for some it could be cooking, it could be culinary arts, for some it could be photography, just learning something because you want to. That one skill is really important. So for me, that happened to be dancing. Also, I mean, I'm probably drifting, but I want to talk about how I decided that I wanted to learn dance in general, not Kathak, but dance. My brother used to learn dance from Shiamak Davar Academy of Dancing, whatever, Shamak Davar Institute of Performing Arts, जो भी है वो. And he would have been what, some 15, 16 years old. And I remember he was wearing this black hat with a golden ribbon, dancing away. And my mom had gone to receive him from the classes, and she took me. My brother and I have a 10-year age gap. So
Okay.
yeah, so obviously she couldn't leave me at home, so she took me along. I was watching my brother dance and I was very mesmerized. And I told mom, I want to do the same thing. मुझे भी शामक दावर वाला dance सीखना है. I want to do what my brother was doing. I don't know if it was because I really wanted to do what he was doing or if I wanted to spend more time with him. That thought is a little blurry in my head. But I wanted to do what he was doing. The same movements with the same hat, and I thought that my mother's put me in those classes, probably like a separate outlet or something. It took me a long, long time to realize that what I'm learning is not Shamak Davar dance, it's Kathak.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't say anything to her. I just continued because I don't know. I never voiced my opinion about this. I
Wait, so how far into the class did you realize that this was not Shamak Davar's institute?
uh, a year maybe. I don't know.
Oh, wow, okay.
A long time. So yeah, at least a year into it, I realized that नहीं ये शामक डावर dancing नहीं है. But it was fun. Whatever I learned from my first guru, Srimati Swati Sinha ji, and whatever I continue to learn from her till now, because now I have the opportunity to work with her and under her. So as a teacher, as a Kathak dance teacher. So yeah. So I always learn from her, you know. So I think we complete 19 years of association in January.
Oh, wow.
So I continue to learn a lot from her. And that process has been so enriching and fulfilling. Yeah, that's how my journey in Kathak started. And I feel like I'm starting another journey in Kathak, the journey of teaching and learning while teaching and actually becoming a professional in terms of performing as well. So
Mm,
we're on to the
mm.
next chapter. So we're there now.
So then, what is that transition like? Because obviously, I mean, you got into Kathak with the whole interest of dance and just being in love with dance and wanting to learn, right? And obviously, as a student, like I can imagine, you must have had a really um, enthusiastic approach and that sort of appetite to learn, right? And now that you're kind of teaching, what is that transition like from going from student to teacher to actually now being responsible for someone else's journey in a way? Because I think a guru is very important, be it whatever, not just dance, because a mentor can really make you can really give you that finesse, but can also really make you fall in love with the craft a lot more. And if it's not the right guru, it can go either way. You're really in that place where you can mold a student. So what has that been like for you? What do you think your experience has been like in terms of, I assume you've just started teaching, or I don't know if you've been doing this for a while, but what has that been like for you in terms of just of becoming a teacher, from going from student to teacher?
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. I started, like I said, I started around 19 years back. So I learned under my first guru for a good 11, 12 years before I started my journey at Kathak Kendra, right? At Kathak Kendra, I was learning under my guru's guru. So, Pandit Rajendra Gangani ji, I learned from him for 5 years, which I think was a defining point for me in terms of how I could approach Kathak in the real world. I say real world because the world inside Kathak Kendra is a different world. You're in a building, you're in like four walls, and whatever's happening inside a classroom or in that building is quite different from what is happening now. And this is obviously my personal experience. So, the shift from being a student to being a student come professional, I would say, because my approach towards Kathak did change. There was a time when, I thought that this is not my calling. I don't want to do this. I cannot do this. It's not me. And there were a lot of times when I felt like, yeah, मैं कहाँ आ गई? I think I'm stuck. मैं फंस गई हूँ because this is not my thing. And then I almost gave it up, right? I mean, I was like, this is not me. One of the reasons why I gave it up was because of my health. I had some health issues. So my body was not very supportive of, the rigor that Kathak demands from a person. And that's also how I delved into dance movement therapy. So I did dance movement therapy, and then I came back to Delhi, and I stumbled upon Swati ma'am's workshop
Okay.
in January this year. So it was
Mm.
a 3 month intensive,
Mm.
and I felt like if I want to, step back, now is my chance. And if it's my first guru, I know that I can do this because I've trained under her. But with my 5 years of institutionalized training at Kathak Kendra and 11 years under ma'am, I felt like maybe I can do this. So why not give it a try? नहीं होगा 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 देख लेंगे है ना. That happened. I did the workshop for 3 months, and I realized that things are so different in the outside world. Like the approach is so different, and I should have trusted myself more in terms of being able to execute the art form and actually finding a footing here, right? And yeah, the workshop happened, and I felt like, okay, I can actually do this. I just have to, not give up. So I wouldn't say easily, but just not give up and show up even when the sun's not shining bright. But yeah, baby steps. I took baby steps. And I think one of the reasons why I also came back to Kathak is because of dance movement therapy. Dance movement therapy actually helped me fall in love with the process of movement all over again. Authentic movement, what we call. So the whole process of moving without, worrying about anything. Because what happens with Indian classical performing arts is that, especially dance, is that you're so caught up in the idea of perfection that you lose sight of everything else. You lose sight of the process, you lose sight of learning, you lose the sight of the joy that comes from being in the moment. You're so caught up with, okay, is my hand aligned? Is my head okay? Am I looking straight? Am I at 45 degrees or is it a 50? And how do I bring myself back to 45? So, all these things really took away from the joy of dancing for me.
Right.
And when I came back to Kathak, I also felt like I'm back in my safe place, my safe space,
Mm.
which could also be under ma'am, you know.
Right.
So that's how my journey of Kathak has kind of been as a student. And when we talk about transitioning from a student to a teacher, I was just, and maybe not teacher, but assistant teacher. I started off as an assistant teacher. That's a really interesting story. So, my Guruji, my first guru, was looking for someone to handle back end work of her institution. And I was trying to pitch myself for that.
Mm-hmm.
She asked me, do you want to handle this? I said, yeah, I'll do it because I really wanted to reconnect with her. It had been a long time since, I had spoken with ma'am, and that whole stint at Kathak Kendra for 5 years and then going to Bombay and coming back created a disconnect for me with her. And I really wanted to work on that bond again. I wanted to restore, whatever you want to call it. And for me, I was like, yeah, I'll take up anything in terms of work. She had also posted an advertisement for an assistant teacher at her institution. And the thing was, the requirement was 5 years of teaching experience,
Oh,
which I
okay.
did not have. I'll be very honest. I had, like, beach mein, I did take tuitions.
Okay.
So I would teach one or two kids. That went on for around 2 years, on and off. But that was it. Nothing. I did not advertise. I did not do anything about it. There was a requirement for someone in my colony to learn dance, and I said, yeah, I'll take it up, and I did. And then I don't know, it just fizzled out. It didn't work out at that point of time. And I thought, maybe I can transition into being an assistant teacher as well.
Hmm.
So I had responded to that, and I personally went and told ma'am, I saw this and I would like to. And she asked me, do you have experience? No, I don't. He said, okay, we will see what we can do about it. And then some days later, she said, okay, you start coming with me. I will take classes on these days. Just come with me, sit, and just be there in the class. So I showed up. It was a Wednesday, I remember. March, somewhere in March, I think mid March, I got a call from her and she said, are you free on this day? I said, yeah. She said, okay, so you come, you just show up. And I was with a friend, and I just looked at my friend and I said, okay, so I think my first guru wants me to be with her while she takes a class. He said, isn't that what you wanted? I said, yeah. And now that it's happening, I don't know how to feel about it. I was excited and nervous. So I was there, and then I saw her taking a class. And that is the day my training began to become an assistant teacher. So that marked from March to, I think, August. I underwent teacher training with her.
Okay.
So I would show up at least twice a week, if not more, sometimes thrice a week, sometimes 4 times a week. But I would show up, and I would observe how she teaches. And then she slowly let me take classes. So I tried, and she gave me room to make a lot of mistakes, which is extremely important as a
Hmm.
mentor,
Yeah.
who can't. This is like, what helicopter parenting is, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you can't do that with someone who's trying to learn. And she doesn't believe in that. And yeah, she just gave me room to be myself, make mistakes. She made it really clear that even if one of us messes up, we have to be smart enough to kind of come around that.
Right.
It's not just you, it could be me too. And you know having that self awareness is also very important, because I have noticed that the higher and higher you get, like in terms of your position
Yeah.
as a mentor, as a guru in a field like this, the more uh, you feel like I'm perfect and I cannot make mistakes. So it is very refreshing for me to even hear that, it's not just you who would make mistakes. Some days I'll be making mistakes too. And we have to be there to, kind of come together as a team and work towards that.
Hmm.
So, she never made me feel like I'm working under her. She always made me feel like we are equals. We're together. She said, "You are not above me. You are not below me. I am not above you. We are working together. We are equals. And that's how I'm going to treat you." Whatever the equation was when you had started learning from me is not going to exist when it comes to work. I cannot approach you as a student when it comes to this. So that is also something you need to understand. And I think I'm in the process of understanding that right now. That internal transition from being a student to being someone who works with her has been, um, I think it's been fruitful, but it's also been equally challenging. We have our, I have my days, where I feel like things are going south, but
Okay.
more often than things going south, I feel like things are looking upwards for me. And there's finally some hope that's being restored. So it's a great feeling. And as for being responsible for someone else in terms of, because you're teaching them, it's a very, very scary feeling, honestly.
Yeah.
Being on the other side, it's so scary. I cannot tell you, because not only you can't scold people in today's day and age, right? You have to be really sensitive about people, how they feel. You have to be very careful about the words you choose, the
Yeah.
tonality in which you're trying to explain things to them. So I sometimes I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. I'll be really honest with you. But being a student, now teacher, like in the process of becoming a teacher, I also want my students to not have the kind of inhibitions I did. I want them to feel safe in the space where they learn. I don't want them to think that, oh, this is just another class or whatever. But honestly, I mean, if that's how they think, I would want to try to change that. But I also know that I cannot force them into changing that
Yeah, yeah.
mindset, right? So there's always that thought I am struggling with. Uh, the responsibility of showing up on time, setting everything up, making sure that, things are not like haywire, and
Right.
that there is an order, there's a decorum that is being followed and maintained in class is essential. Um, Sometimes I feel like I want to be, how in school we always had a teacher whom we really liked, like a cool
Yeah.
teacher, like, yeah, she
Yeah.
liked us, you know. Sometimes I feel like I want that validation from the people who learn. I don't
Yeah.
want to call them students because honestly, they're not my students. They are my guru's students. So I don't want to use the term students, but definitely the children who come because they're quite young. I can call them children. So I want them to think of me as someone, whom they can be open with. If there is a problem, if there is something that they don't like, I want them to find me approachable enough to come and tell me that, hey, this isn't working out, or can we find a way around this? Because that is the equation I now have with my guru, my first guru. And she has always created and maintained that space to be able to talk to her, to approach her, especially in times of crisis. And she's also given us the freedom to, find a way around things. It's never a my way highway with her. It's always we are a team. If you have a solution that you think works best, you let me know, and then we can deliberate on it and we can move forward. It's not been this is mine, so you do as I say. Never, never in these 19 years have I ever felt like that. So, yeah, my process has been really smooth. I feel like very smooth sailing. I feel like it could have been turbulent had I been working elsewhere. But I also feel like, Sangeeta, I've had the privilege of getting the best educators,
Right.
right?
Yeah. That makes a
So,
difference.
yeah. So, Swati ma'am is one of my Bade Guruji's senior most disciples.
Okay.
And Bade Guruji, as in Pandit Rajendra Gangani ji, he has traveled the world. Like, his second home is the airplane, because
Okay.
you'll never find him in Delhi. We're all based in Delhi. You'll never find him in Delhi. It's very rare. You One day he'll be in the States, the other day he'll be in Bombay performing, and then from Bombay he'll be somewhere in Australia, UK. You don't know, because he's always hopping from one place to another. But whenever he's there, he is so present, and he makes you feel so present that you don't feel like he had gone anywhere, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
So having that kind of a mentor, a guru that makes you understand the importance of being present in the moment, is also so important.
That
And
is true.
he has won many prestigious awards. He's been felicitated by the Sangeet Natak Academy, and my first guru, Srimati Swati Sinha ji, she won the Bismillah Khan Yuva Puraskar earlier this year. So, having that kind of I don't know, recognition, and also not letting it get to your head, that you've been awarded by the government of India, by the cultural sector of the Indian government, and still not having any, like, I don't know, um, ghamand about,
Yeah.
I have got this, I have got that. Being grounded and ensuring you stay as grounded as they are, if not more, is so important. I, academically speaking, I also went to one of the best day boarding schools in the country, and having that kind of an educational background has made a lot of difference in terms of how I approach things in the day-to-day world. Even my communication skills, even though they're not the best, I feel like my verbal communication is far better than most people, because of the education I've had, because of the teachers I've had, because of the resources that they have provided to us, and their availability. That's why I always believe that teachers and mentors make it or break it for you. Like you said, the importance of a mentor is so profound that, you know it's also really undervalued, I feel.
Yeah.
a
It
lot
is. I
of
agree.
people a lot of people don't realize that having good teachers makes all the difference.
Very
Because
much. Yeah.
if there is anyone, if for children, if there is anyone whom you're spending the most time with after your parents or your caretakers, are your teachers. So, being around them, understanding and imbibing that environment is essential. So, yeah, I think बहुत लंबा हो गया, but I may have missed the point of your question also.
No, but I think no, it was basically like how you're finding that transition. But I think like from what I can understand is you're obviously still in a sense you're a student on that journey of becoming a teacher also right now. And I think it's very clear that what you're kind of aspiring to be right as a teacher with how the relationship you share with your teachers, that's kind of what you're going for with your students uh, as well, which is really cool. And because the reason again like I brought this whole teaching thing up is because even I started teaching like writing workshops in the pandemic, which was so like, and for me, I didn't like, and I'm pretty much a self-taught writer. Like, yes, whenever I can, like, I've been fortunate again to have certain mentors who've really like guided me in terms of writing. Whatever I know about writing today, a lot of it is because, thanks to certain people. Like, again, I have to give a shout out to Bound here, based in Bombay. Michelle DaCosta, Aishwarya Zavalgaikar, Tara Khandelwal, like they're the ones who really gave me my foundation in terms of understanding different forms of writing. Pragya, Bhagat, like I've had the opportunity to learn from them, and I think when you have that opportunity to learn from teachers who can give you that sort of foundation, it inspires you also to be able to do that for someone else, right? And facilitate that's a similar kind of space for them. So, I could relate a lot to what you were saying. I mean, in terms of writing, obviously for you it's dance. But yeah, I mean, more power to you. And
And more power, because you're doing so well. I mean, you have a whole podcast, you're taking workshops, and you're doing so much. And I think that's great. I write. I won't call myself a writer, but I do write. I have been really lucky to be able to land some paid gigs in writing. Yeah. And again, that was because the person who gave me those opportunities, Bibin Balan, he believed in me and he gave me the freedom to write however I want to write, to, just frame my sentences however I want to. And then he told me that, like he gave me good input that, if you could change this around, check the tone of this, whatever, little nitty-gritties. But again, those things make a lot of difference, right? So I'm again back to the point of how proper guidance really helps you in the long run. And if you are stuck with mentors who are all about themselves, I did this, I did that, because I'm sure we've come across some people who, who in the guise of mentors are all about themselves. I'm sure you also would have come across some people like that, that they just want to project their achievements and not focus so much on how to impart that skill to the people who want to learn.
yes,
It's
that is true.
mostly self marketing. And unfortunately, I feel like we are also moving towards that in today's day and age, where people just want to market themselves, market their skills without actually teaching them how to, use that skill in the right way. And
Or
you know
what works best for them, basically.
yeah, I would like to segue into storytelling over here. So abhinay, the expressional aspect of dancing is an equally and is an equal and important as well as an integral part of Kathak. In fact, Kathak has the word Katha, which means story. So there was this a not proverb, but there's a saying कि कथा कहे सो कथक कहलावे, as in the person who tells stories is known as a kathak or a
Hmm.
kathakar,
A storyteller,
a
basically.
storyteller
Yeah.
basically. So when it comes to these expressional aspects and how you want to present those pieces, whether it's a song, any type of song, whether it's a bhajan or a thumri or even a poem for that matter, it doesn't have to be a song. We've always got a lot of creative freedom in terms of how you want to execute it. It's never been that, how you can play with words also. That is also really important. And, so having that kind of freedom is essential for people who are in storytelling to be able to find the narrative that fits best for them.
Yes. That is true. That I agree.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that is also extremely important. Even in writing, I suppose, you don't always have to write in a particular way. There are certain parts that require more emphasis, so that not only are you able to put your point across, but the other person can also understand where you are coming from and why that particular aspect required more emphasis than the rest.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think with writing, the thing is, I feel like there's so much evolution just in terms of course, you still have the purists who believe in being technically correct with certain forms of writing and, whatnot. And, with grammar and structure and everything. And of course, you have people who are kind of changing that up and, who are really like, really changing the rules and doing kind of playing around with form and doing their own thing. And of course there's always a sort of clash between that sort of traditional form of writing and this sort of new wave of like writers who have come up and are kind of playing with form and doing their own thing. They don't always sit well with each other. Of course, there are cases where writing has evolved and has been like more accepted. But of course, I think that clash is always there. I'm sure. I assume you find that with dance as well, right? With Kathak as well. But having said that, I want to talk about your time at Kathak Kendra, because it is a sort of institution where you do go to study, and it's very serious. It's obviously very hard on technique and a sort of pure form and really sticking to the roots and basics of it. So what was like, how did you decide first of all to go to Kathak Kendra, and just what has your experience been like studying in an institution like that? And what is Kathak Kendra for listeners who may not know that also?
Okay, I'll start with what is Kathak Kendra. Uh, Kathak Kendra defines itself as a unit of Sangeet Natak Academy. Sangeet Natak Academy is a body that encompasses arts and culture,
Okay.
and it's a part of the Ministry of Culture under the Government of India. So, I hope that explains it. So, it's a center for Kathak, which is essentially under the Government of India through like multiple.
Specializing, yeah.
Yeah.
So specializing in the dance form, yeah.
Correct. And it is also a national institute of Kathak. So it's Kathak Kendra, the National Institute of Kathak Dance. So that's the whole, that's the entire name of the place. So Kathak Kendra is just a short form, it's a shortened name of the institution. So that's pretty much what Kathak Kendra is. About how I got into it, like all things, this was also accidental in my life.
Okay.
It was as accidental as me starting to learn Kathak. I was 18, and this is 2016. I'm talking about 2016, where you know how Delhi University had 100% cutoffs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh God, yeah.
And me being in CBSE, just to give your listeners a context regarding my academics, I almost passed my midterms in school. Okay. Like I had good 33% and I had to beg my teachers, yeah, 8%, ek mark idhar, ek mark udhar, so that I could pass. Like the cutoff was 33%. I needed a 34% so that I don't fail. Right. And so that was my dasha in school. Ki I hated studying, I hated academics. And that was a concern for my parents because, if I'm getting 33, 34% in my midterms, then how am I going to perform in boards and how will I get into a college and what will my life be afterwards? So, somehow I managed to get 90% in my CBSE board. And the exam that I'm talking about, where I got 34%, with the help of grace marks, I scored the highest in that subject. I ended up getting a 95%. That was
Oh
my
wow.
sociology paper. I scored really high. And I mean, whatever, my sociology teacher was also very shocked about it. We were all shocked that I managed to get 90% in boards because the highest I ever got in my 11th and 12th combined was 60%. And to celebrate that, my father got me a cake. Like, thank God, this woman is doing something. At least she's studying. So I got my marks, but when we saw DU cutoffs, I had no hope that I would get into a regular college. So my dad did some research, and he thought that Kathak Kendra would be a good place for me to go, because not only do I have 11 to 12 years of training in Kathak, I I have good training. So yeah, with all that training and everything, my dad thought, okay, I can try for Kathak Kendra, and I had my basic requirement in place. They needed someone who's completed their 12th. They needed someone who has at least 5 years of basic training, and this is for the advanced course. So there is an elementary course, there's an advanced course, and in elementary you have multiple courses. In advanced you have two courses. So I thought, yeah, okay, I'll wing it. Matlab, I have 11 years of training, man. I can do this. I had
Right.
I had sky high level confidence. Like I will nail it. Until I entered the building and I saw like 20 other dancers all dressed up. When I got a letter from the institution saying, wear a simple suit. It was written in Hindi. तो सादा सूट पहन के आना है, preferably white. For
Okay.
I was like, preferably white, है ना? तो I can wear anything and go. So I just wore my mother's work suit, like
Oh.
what she wears to go to work and come back. It's plain simple cotton suit. And I went there, and I see all these people in white costumes, okay, with proper makeup. People have textbooks in their hands and they are revising things, and my confidence just fell down. And how, like, it hit rock bottom and beyond. I said, मेरे से नहीं होगा ये. I cannot do this. What did I think? What was I thinking? How would I do this? And such learned people, such educated people in their own way, of course. And that's when I also realized education is also not about, going to a good school, learning English, and
Yeah.
having good vocabulary. It's beyond. It's how you carry yourself in the real world. You don't
Hmm.
have to be fluent in English to consider yourself educated.
Yeah.
Education is so much more than that. So I I got a proper reality check, not just a cultural shock, right? एंड आई थॉट, आई मीन, अगर ये भी नहीं हुआ मुझसे, फिर तो मुझसे कुछ नहीं होगा लाइफ में. व्हाट विल आई डू? सो just sitting, and everyone's in white, and I'm the only one who's wearing this blue and red kurta, and my mom had just braided my hair. And my mom said, listen, these people are damn dressed up. I said, yeah, what do we do? She said, you take my bindi and wear it. I'm giving you my bangles. Please wear my bangles. You tie your dupatta the way they have tied their dupatta. Don't tie it like this. So, all that. I remember asking someone for, lipstick. I said, excuse me, can I please borrow your lipstick? She just looked at me and she said, yeah, you can, but you don't have to do anything. I said, you are so dressed up. You can't tell me that I don't have to do anything. I at least have to look decent enough to, show my face to the people who'd be interviewing me. She said, no, simple is best. I'm like, yeah, sure, simple is best. Just give me your lipstick. I kind of got my makeup and everything. I was still shaking. I had no confidence. I went in. I saw two gurus sitting over there, and they asked me, "Kya karoge?" I said, "I'll do footwork for you. Basic." I and said, "Footwork? Why will you do footwork?" I said, "I'll show you Kramle." So again, for the listeners, Kramle is a chronological order of increasing the speed of your footwork.
Okay.
Ramle goes from 1 to 8. So there is also odd numbers like 3 and 7 and all that, and getting them in bars of 4.
Oh,
So,
wow. Okay. Yeah,
so
that's, yeah.
that's really complicated. I said, I'll do Kramle. And in my practice of Kramle, we had never done, 5 and 7 and all of those funny numbers. For me, it was very simple. Started with 1, 2, 4, 6, and 8. All easy
Huh.
numbers.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And I'm at it. I'm just doing footwork like crazy. And 10 minutes, I just did footwork over there. And then when I stopped, they asked me, what about odd numbers? Where was five in this? Where is seven in this? You did not, you said you will show order. I just looked at them. I said, okay, I mean, I'll try if you want me to do it again. They said, no, no, no. When you start your classes, you do all this in your class. You can go. I just looked at them. I said, and I'm just thinking what happened. I just and no one else did footwork. And my interview was easily the longest interview. People are showing, so many movements. They're spinning, covering the space. People are cross questioning, and it got over in some 5 7 minutes. And so for me to stand in one place and just do tati theta was like, okay, this girl has some training. And oh, I forgot an important detail. So my Bade Guruji was also sitting over there. So
Oh, okay.
at him, I was like, okay, someone is sitting, someone I know, like some a familiar face is there. Koi to hai. Guruji looked at me. I looked at Guruji. And then Guruji got up and left before my interview was about to start. He just got up and left.
Oh my God.
And then he attended a phone call and he did not come back.
How
So
anticlimactic.
he did not come back, and I was so scared. I was like, the one person I knew, you know, he's not there. Now what do I do? And then after some days, I got my letter of admission that I got into Kathak Kendra, and my classes start from July, and I have to show up. I was excited. And about DU admissions, I actually skipped my admissions, my ECA quota to show up of my Kathakendra exam, my interview, not exam, interview. So that's how Kathakendra happened because I ditched Delhi University. And I did not know if I made it through the first round of ECA. I was so underconfident. It is after the Kathakendra exam I realized that I was in the top 10 of my ECA thing.
Oh,
So I could have gotten into any college I wanted to because I had the marks. I got the scores and everything. I guess it's destiny in a way that I ended up at the place. So my time at the place was again very challenging. I won't make this very long. It was very challenging. Like I said earlier, I did not know whether I wanted to pursue it or not after
yeah.
seeing so many talented dancers. My self confidence was always at an all time low for 4 years. I was there for 5 years. So I did 3 years of my honors and 2 years of post grad diploma in a way.
Okay.
They're
Mm, mm.
equivalent to a post grad, which is known as a post diploma. So my 3 years of honors, diploma with honors, was insanely difficult. Insanely difficult because my body was not accustomed to that kind of rigor, you know.
Right.
Waking up I forgot what it was like to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and although I used to wake up for school at 5:30, but there's when your body undergoes a break, and then to push yourself to wake up early and then take a metro and then all of those things. So my body was never used to that kind of rigor or that kind of exertion because I grew up in a very protected, shielded environment. If I had to go somewhere, I had a personal car and a driver that would take me wherever I wanted to go.
Yeah.
I still have this curfew of coming home before sunset. So, time and everything was already pre-decided for me. I did not have to do anything. So, for me to figure my time, calculate, and then catch the metro at some 7:30 in the morning, 8 in the morning, all of this felt like a struggle to me. And I know I sound very privileged and entitled when I say that catching a metro at 7:30 is a struggle for me, but ठीक है उस टाइम था अब नहीं है. Now I can do it, but my parents also were like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think, I mean, if everyone's managing it, I also have to manage." Because
Sure.
when I was in school, everyone would come in, Audis and Range Rovers and Land Rovers, and it was a rich school. Like, that school really spoke money. And for me to transition from that environment to an environment like Kathak Kendra, where people are taking buses and walking and like struggling in the metro, was like insane for me. It was absolutely insane. And again, yeah, I sound very privileged when I say that, but I will not deny that Kathak Kendra really taught me a lot about my life, my place in the society, not just in the building, but in the society, how well off I am, how
Yeah.
comfortable a life I'm living.
Yeah.
And, because my life was also so comfortable, I did not realize the importance of hard work, of
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
putting in the work. And because everything was handed to me on a plate, like a platter पे सब है, तुमको ये चाहिए, हाँ ठीक है, you want money, we have. It was a lot like that, so I also didn't feel the need to go out and network and make a place for myself in the fraternity. In fact, I'm learning how to do that now, and I feel like maybe I am 7 years too late into it, but I have to start from somewhere. So Kathak Kendra taught me more than just dancing. It taught me how to uh, carry myself professionally. It also taught me what to say when and where.
Hmm.
Yeah, if that can be counted as a good thing. I don't want to frame that as a negative thing, but it is really important to
To
understand.
be diplomatic.
Yeah, to be diplomatic, and so also understand the context around you. Diplomacy is never a bad thing. Like
Yeah, no, for sure. It's
that,
not. Yeah.
no, I've come across a lot of people who think that, oh yeah, no, this person's so diplomatic. Yeah, diplomacy
Yeah.
really saves you. That is something I've realized. I'm not being diplomatic by saying that, but yeah. And it definitely helped my craft. 100%. I will the fine tuning, the understanding the nuances of the craft that came in through Kathak Kendra. Understanding and admiring Kathak theory came from Kathak Kendra. So a lot of people at Kathak Kendra go to the institution with the intention of becoming good performers, right? And I knew I did not have that performing gene in me. I still don't have the performing gene in me, but I love reading. I haven't had the time to do it now, but I love reading. I love knowing the context of things. And so my theory classes were a delight. I loved it. I used to score the highest in theory. I used to be that kid with, have you seen those Stedler pens, the 36 color Stedler pens,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And this huge classmate notebook with like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
300, 400 pages.
Yeah.
I'm that kid. One big fat notebook, pens. Uske alawa, I had a pencil, I had an eraser, I had a sharpener, I had a scale, I had a glue stick, I had a whiteboard. So loaded with stationery, always carrying a notepad, rigorously making color coded notes. Okay, and
Wow.
and people would look at me with like these eyes, like, who's this woman? ये पढ़ने आई है? इसको पता नहीं है. But I loved theory classes. I loved sitting at the library. In fact, it is because I was spending some time in the library that I started my blog.
Oh, really?
Katha Kendra
So
Library.
that's how you started writing in Kathak Kendra.
I started writing. I was
Oh
sitting
my
in the
God.
library randomly, and there's this Hindu ka newspaper. and I had made notes from an article I read on the Wire. And this is
Oh,
exam time when people are practicing like crazy, and I was getting overwhelmed. So I went through those notes, and then I read an article on the Hindu about performing arts, something to do with Indian classical arts and where it's headed. And I just sat for hours and hours and hours, my phone on silent. I'm making notes, notes by notes, notes by notes, and I filled so many pages. And then I realized, hey, I can write something about this. Maybe, why not actually restart a page? Because I had a blog before this, but I took it down the day I 18. Yeah, like I just took that whole page down. I realized it was very cringe for me to personally go through that. We've all had our moments where we write things that seem so cringy. Like
yeah.
I wrote them when I was some 12, 13, 14 years old. And
Okay.
बड़ा 4 साल में मेरा evolution हो गया नहीं I cannot relate to this anymore. I don't want to relate to that anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I restarted a blog. That's when my father was really supportive. My father was after me to start writing. Like, just start writing. You don't have to be good. Writing is also, he told me that writing is a skill that will get better with time. Like the more you
Yeah,
practice it, it will get better, but you also have to develop a habit of reading.
true.
And reading came in very late in my life. My parents bought me so many books. I read none of them when I was in school. And only during the pandemic did I start reading. So
Okay.
it's as late as the pandemic that I fell in love with reading, and I came across Jhumpa Lahiri's work. I came across in school we read Amitav Ghosh also, a range of authors and beyond.
Do you have
Hmm?
do you have any favorites?
No,
Like
I
from
haven't
books and
read enough.
authors? Yeah.
I've not read enough to have favorites, honestly.
Hmm.
Um,
Or anything that's like really struck you, like, wow, this is amazing.
every book I read makes me feel like that. But a book that I constantly want to go back to is Whereabouts by Jhumpa Lahiri.
Oh my God, I just recently read that. It's so crazy. Like I read that a few weeks ago and I actually had the exact same conversation with my last guest I recorded with, Anisha Palat.
Oh,
So even we discussed that book. So I feel like this is now a recurring book in this season. Now that's going to come.
but that book
But yeah,
blew my mind.
yeah.
Uh, so that book is something I want to go back to again and again. I'm currently reading a man called uh,
Oh, okay. I've not read it, but I've heard a lot of good things about that
I
book.
I had read Anxious People
Mhm.
as well.
Right, yeah.
I have Sally Rooney's
Normal
novel.
people?
Yeah, I
Oh,
have it in my TBR.
okay.
There's a lot. I also have Less in my TBR.
Oh, less is in my TBR too.
Yes. So there's another book. Um These Precious Days by Anne Patchett.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think that's one of. She wrote The Dutch House as well. I'm not sure if she wrote this one after The Dutch House or
But
before.
These Precious Days was a book that was very close to me. And there's this graphic novel called Lighter Than My Shadow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which is about how a person struggles with an eating disorder. So, yeah. So that's also, yeah, because I study psychology, that was also an interesting read for me. And because it had pictures, uh,
Yeah.
and very well thought pictures, nothing that made me uncomfortable per se, because EDs and just disorders in general are a very sensitive subject, and to be able to portray that so that the readers are also okay with that idea कि हाँ ये होता है and not get uncomfortable by it, that uh, is a very tough job to do as a writer, as an author specifically. So That book also is very close to my heart. So these, yeah, these three books. Otherwise, honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of self-help books. Every self-help book talks about how you don't need a self-help book, and that it's all about discipline. And I'm just like, why am I wasting my money on this? I don't like, like, uh, what are these books? Yeah, see, a
What,
passion,
Atomic Habits?
Atomic Habits. I don't know. I haven't read that book. I've not been inclined to read that book. What is
Yeah, I've
it?
had so many guests mention that book on my season, though.
I don't get.
I've not read it. I've not read it, so I can't comment. But yeah.
There's this book called 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson. I don't want to read that book. मेरे को पढ़ना ही नहीं है. I don't like self-help books. I'm so sorry for people who have bettered their life because of self-help books. But for me, it's always been that standard thing that it all starts from you,
Yeah, that
right?
is
And
true.
and you don't need to spend so much money to understand that it all starts from you. If you really want to go somewhere, go to YouTube. You have so many TED Talks that will tell you the same thing, and you don't have to pay anything for it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's like different strokes for different folks,
Yeah, I'm
right? I
sure.
mean,
I'm sure. I'm just saying for me,
yeah, yeah, no, no, for sure.
yeah, I
I,
don't.
I think this is one of those moments where Kathak Kendra's lesson of knowing what to say when plays in.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, see, Ikigai is a great book. I will go back to Ikigai, but that is the only book I'll go back to. I won't go back to self-help books. No, it's never worked for me. I
No,
am.
that's fair because I know a lot of people for whom like self-help books don't work either. They prefer like obviously like watching something, or they have different ways of imbibing that same lesson or whatever, right? The book is trying to say. But it's interesting to kind of get those two like those multiple perspectives because I've had guests on the show, like a couple of them who vouch for Atomic Habits. I've not read it, so I really cannot comment on the book.
I also haven't read it.
Um
That's why I did not want to say specifically. I did not
yeah, yeah, yeah.
say something very specific about atomic
Specific.
habits.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, because I know that is one book that has really like changed like people's view perspectives on, basically self-improvement. Like I think someone I really like, I mean, again, I've not read his work, but I'm very inclined to read his work is Adam Grant. Because organizational psychology, and I really like the snippets he posts, his articles. I've read a few of them, which I've really liked. So I am very curious to read his
I
books
am
to
a fan
see
of
what they're like.
Adam Grant's Instagram posts. I read
Yeah, yeah, no,
posts
yeah.
on Instagram, so
Yeah, even Brene Brown, I think she's someone whose work I'd love to read.
have
I've
you
watched her talks
watched that TED Talk video of hers?
about shame.
And I think I keep forgetting.
Yeah, because that's the one I think that went viral, if you're talking about that one.
Mm, yeah,
She's done a bunch of talks though,
yeah,
but she's amazing.
but
And
she's
she has a
so
great Netflix show called Call to Courage.
hmm. But this one Brené Brown video really changed the power of vulnerability.
Yes, yeah, okay, yeah, I know what
Power of
you're, yeah.
vulnerability. So that really changed the way I approach movement and storytelling. So I watched that on my own first when I was going through a really low phase in life. And then my professors at Tata Institute of Social Sciences showed the same video to me when we were studying dance movement therapy. So, the whole concept of guilt and shame and how vulnerability is so important, all of that, it shifts you. It really shifts you. Or it shifted me at least. I remember there were extensive discussions about how it is important to just sometimes let your guard down if you really want to express yourself. You have to be one with yourself to be able to do that. And that is something a lot of people don't understand or realize. It's like the concept of, how you can't separate art from the artist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which
They are
is
one
true.
entity.
Yeah.
So,
That's an interesting. I think I'm going to reserve that topic for maybe another bonus episode panel discussion, the art versus artist debate, because I think that's a debate that can go on forever, a discussion that can go on
Agreed,
forever.
agreed, agreed. Hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, coming to, psychology, because obviously, I mean, you spend so much time in Kathak Kendra learning dance and kind of pursuing this sort of avenue, right, of being a professional dancer. And I believe that is what you initially did set out to do. But then the shift happened to psychology, right? And now, of course, you're pursuing dance movement therapy. So, how did that happen for you? Like, what shifted for you? And you said that this is something I would like to do.
Okay, so psychology was one of those subjects in school I really liked. Um, I remember our first chapter in class 11, something about personality and self. And from that chapter, I knew that, I wanted to pursue something in psych. I did not know about the situation of psychology and psychologists in India at that time, but I was very drawn to that subject. So, cut to boards when I realized that I scored the lowest in psych. I was quite heartbroken. I thought that my dream of becoming a psychologist is over. And
Hmm.
psychology cut also 100%. You look at LSR and Miranda and Hindu and not
Yeah.
Hindu, I don't know, but
Yeah, yeah. Delhi colleges are famous. 100% cut off. If you don't get, you don't get it.
and I'm just wondering how do people get 100% cut off. So anyway, that happened, and that put a stop to my thing of psychology. And cut to pandemic, my father found this course via IGNU, Masters in Psychology. And he asked me, like, do you want to do this? So I found this course for you. You wanted to pursue psychology. I said, I did, but how can I do it now? Because, like jumping from school level to a master's without a bachelor's is quite tricky. But the requirement was also very basic. You just needed to do your graduation in any subject, and you needed 50% in your graduation. So I, with a struggling 54%, was able to apply and get through. And it happened. So that's how my master's in psychology happened. But so the course actually for self studying is quite extensive. I will give them that. And there's this horrible aspect of research and stats in psychology that you have to do, which I hate. I hate numbers. I hate learning, these formulae and things like that. It's not my jam. मेरे को नहीं अच्छा लगता. So luckily I graduated. I'm not graduated. I was able to pass my first year because I did not have to sit for exams because COVID had risen again. So the
Okay.
university said, इस बैच के बच्चों को we will just pass them. हो गया clear. आगे बढ़ो second year. Now I'm kind of struggling with my second year because IGNU gives you around 4 years to complete your masters, and my dissertation's taking a lot of time. Sometimes I'm just not able to sit on it. I feel like I've chosen the topic so close to my heart that I'm so comfortable with. I'm like, हाँ ठीक है हो जाएगा. But my topic is also on dance and movement
Okay.
and how it impacts stress and mental health levels amongst the youth. So that's what I'm struggling with. But the psychology happened because pandemic, and it gave me something to do. But it is only very recently that I attended internships. So I had the opportunity to go to Karma Center to do a small workshop training series on psychotherapy. So I relearned CBT, DBT, REBT,
Which is cognitive behavioral therapy, right?
cognitive behavioral therapy, rational emotive behavioral therapy, all these models. But what helped was them teaching us how you can apply techniques in your practice, which is something a lot of courses don't do. Or so I've been told. At least, see, IGNU can't do it because it's anyway an online distance learning thing. नहीं होगा. But from what I've heard, like at least in colleges, very few universities are able to bridge the gap between theory and practice
True.
to whatever extent possible. I understand there are many ethics and, um, legalities that you have to be very careful about when it comes to psychology. You can't, if you want to learn how a session goes, you can't sit in a session and observe how a session's happening. You're infringing on someone's privacy. आप वो नहीं कर सकते.
Yeah, I actually want to mention a book here, which is actually like a memoir. It's by this Korean writer. I forget her name, but it's called I Want to Die, but I Want to Eat Tteokbokki. So it's basically this author's insight into her therapy sessions. So she's actually taken consent from her therapist and she's written chapters in the book. So you really get to see the nuances of what therapy sessions are like and how medications are prescribed for her and what her experience with therapy and
Another
counseling is
book
like.
that'll be really helpful, which I forgot to mention in my favorites list, was Maybe You Should Talk to Someone.
Oh, yes, I've heard about this one. Yeah.
So, if you like reading books along those lines, I would highly recommend you and the listeners to read Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. What an insightful book. It's not just a book for people who are just reading it, but it's also a great book for people who are training to be psychologists and therapists and counselors. It's a great book. A lot of my notes are in that book. It's it's an amazing book. One should definitely read it if they are interested in psychology, therapy, and how therapists need to segregate themselves uh, depending again on the environmental context. When they are a therapist, they are a therapist. When they are a client, they cannot view themselves from the lens of a therapist. So that segregation and how the author lets us into her personal life and viewing things from her lens, but three other different lenses. So, all of those things is quite interesting. So, yeah.
So wait, how did dance movement therapy happen? Like, isn't how did you decide to focus on that?
So, that's how psychology happened. It happened in the pandemic. It's still going on. I hope I can finish my dissertation soon. Otherwise, my degree will be null and void, and I'll have to start all over again. Dance movement therapy happened because my now sister-in-law uh, suggested that idea to me.
Okay.
She said, "Why don't you try this out? I know someone from my school who started this. You have these groups, right, where you can become a member of different disciplines and things like that." So she had started an association for dance movement therapy, and I was
Hmm.
just going through her page, and then I was very interested ki hota kya hai. And I knew I wanted to do something when I realized I don't think I can be a performer. I still had that inkling कि मेरे को डांस में कुछ करना ही है. I want to be able to help people heal. That's what was in my mind. I want people to use their bodies to work towards healing themselves, mainly because
Hmm.
I wanted to do that for myself. So I thought once I'm able to kind of get there, I want to be able to use this and give this power to other people. That's what was going on in my head. Of course, things have changed now. So when I read about dance movement therapy, I realized this is exactly what I imagined, me doing.
Hmm.
So I told my parents, I think this is very interesting. I want to give this a shot. Let's see. And they were not dismissive of the idea. They weren't overtly supportive of it either. They just said, okay, give yourself some time and then see.
Hmm.
But in my head, it was very clear because I not only had I learned Kathak, I was also studying psychology. And the next step for me was to combine both the disciplines and see where that takes me. So, dance movement
Hmm.
therapy felt like a combination of the two disciplines, dance and
Okay.
psychology. I looked up more in terms of courses in dance movement therapy, and I found two to three courses, but I also found Tata Institute of Social Sciences, which did something to my brain because in 2016, my father really wanted me to go to Tata Institute of Social Sciences to study. their 5 year undergrad post grad course उनका जो होता है in social sciences, and I did not get through it. I don't, and like I told you, I just did not have any academic inclination ever. I don't have that gene also in which my parents have. My parents are great in terms of academics. In fact, my brother is also more academically inclined than me. He's an engineer, so I will give him that. Okay. I am
Okay.
the first generation artist in my family. There has been no one before me, and I don't think there'll be anybody after me to carry forward this legacy of mine. It will be mine and mine alone. So I thought, okay, TIS seems like a nice place. It has a reputation of its own. And I was like, nahi yaar, I have to go here. Like, this is the place I want to go if I ever do dance movement therapy. So I started following all these dance movement therapy pages. And one random day, last year, 2022, I was trying to kill time because I did not have work. So I found these tiny internships through intern shala. So I was doing content writing, so every day I had to submit 1,000 word article on a range of topics. The topics were 10 tips to get glowing skin. Yeah.
Okay.
So topics like that, and I was not getting paid. Like I got, honestly speaking, I got chiller for it. Yeah. And it was still something in my account because I mean I was getting money. I needed money. I desperately needed money at that time because there's only so much you can rely on your parents for after a certain age. I feel, and everybody around me was becoming financially independent, and here I was asking my parents for money. And I really took it upon myself कि nahi, I have to become independent, this that. And I shut myself because of it. I stopped going out. I was isolated. I was like, if I don't have money, I can't do this. If I don't have money, I can't do that, and I can't ask my parents again and again for money. So I was interning, and my sister-in-law just said, Nanika, why are you doing this? I said it's because I'm getting money. Like I'm being able to work on my writing skills, sure, but I'm getting some money. Like I have some opportunity. So she said, but is this what you want to do? I said, no, I mean, I don't want to write about, beauty and fitness and things like that. That's not my calling. I have my dance and I want to do something in that. She said, I think you should just quit your internship and look at this dance movement therapy course and start working towards this instead of, doing whatever you're doing. My dad was also there, mom was also there, my brother was also there. So my dad said, हाँ देख लो मतलब I think my dad is very blunt. He just said, I think this is a waste of time. You're not gaining anything out of writing these blog posts. If anything, you're just on tight schedules all the time. Like he would, so the person I was working under, I would get a topic and I had to submit a 1,000 to 1,500 word article within the end of the day.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, 1,500 words that, and there were research guidelines like first 10 pages I have to go through, find things. There's a whole plagiarism check, there's this and that, and grammar, tonality. They also wanted a proper, like a perfect Grammarly score so that, all of those things. Okay, so I called up this person and I told them ki I want to quit. I can't do this. I will not show up from from the coming week. I will whatever work for a week. After this, मुझसे नहीं होगा. So this person said, "Are you sure? But you're doing so well." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm not learning anything now. I'm not being paid enough also, to be very honest with you. It's not doing anything.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is not my plan."
Fair.
And I told them that my plan is to study dance therapy. I want to take this up. I want to work in this field. And I feel like now is the time for me to kind of find my direction. So, yeah, they said okay. Obviously, they were very dejected, like another intern gone types. So, um, I mean, whatever pending work there was, I did. I got paid. Uh, Ended everything, cut all comms from them, and then I started working towards dance therapy. So that's how dance therapy happened. I got the prelim,
Okay.
and then there was an interview round,
Okay.
and there were many people. Like I'm sure there would have been over 100 applicants for that course because it's a short-term course, and for me, this is synonymous with cutthroat competition.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I I had everything again, met the basic requirements, but again, I did not know if I would get in or not. And I was told that if you don't get in this year, it's okay. You will definitely get in next year because at least you'll have an experience of what the interview process is like, which again is important. That was also a lesson for me that I don't have to achieve anything and everything in that moment. I can go through the process, learn, and then restart.
Hmm.
But I don't know. It happened. I got in through the first attempt only. I got through the prelim. I mean, they do a form scan and things like that. Then they check if you're a good fit. And the forms are quite like, I mean, like every other educational institution, I suppose. But then I never went to a proper educational institution. I mean, I never went to a college, to be honest with you. So I did not know like how you answer. Why do you want to study this? What will you gain out of it? ये सब for me, I was like, मेरे को बस पढ़ना है. I want to do it because I want to do it. How do I find a purpose and everything? But I did something. I got in. They took my interview. I was the first person who joined, and I had a 3 hour waiting. You know the place where I'm sitting right now? I
Yeah.
was sitting here 3 hours, did not move. And there were 7 people who came after me, but they were called before me. I'm just sitting, 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 and my parents are, outside. Like, ho gaya, ho gaya. I said, nahi, pata nahi, kab hoga. And then I was also controlling my pee very badly. And I had to go to the washroom. And I'm just sitting like, what if they call me? And then I was like, acha chodo, I'll just go to the washroom and I'll come back. I went to the washroom. As soon as I entered the washroom, I heard my name.
Oh my God.
Oh, good God. Oh no. And then I muted my mic. I said, I'm just coming, please give me a minute. And I was so nervous. I went and I came back. I had to take 30 seconds to calm down, and the interview process went really well. I told them, ma'am, I'm really nervous. So there were 3, 4 people. I told them, I'm really nervous. And the first thing they said was, if you're nervous, you're doing a really good job of showing confidence. That is very important. And then I became very confident. Then I was very open, and this person asked me, if we call you, will you? I said, yeah, yeah, I'll come. I didn't wait for him to finish the question. I'll come. मैं आऊंगी. You just have to call me. I'll show up with my bags also outside your educational institution. Please take. I was so desperate to get into that course, but it happened. And honestly, dance therapy is the reason why I'm back in Kathak. If it weren't for dance therapy, I would not have restarted Kathak. That course really, like, yes, mentors. So, mentors definitely make a lot of difference. But there are just some things, like that bring a shift in you in terms of self-awareness and things like that. Dance therapy did that for me. There were a lot of concepts that people don't talk about otherwise, guilt, shame, trauma, all of these things, how these are actually stored in the body, like emotions being
Yeah.
stored in the body,
Yeah.
and then being.
Which I did not realize till I started doing yoga, because I have really stiff hips, and I was told that apparently, like, if you have, like, for women, like, your emotions get stored in your hips, which is something I did not know. So that was like a huge, I was like, oh wow, so this is where all the pent up feelings go.
Exactly. And, initially, free movement was very difficult for me. Even in my interview, they said, you have to show us 3 minutes of free movement. It's
Hmm.
up to you if you want to use music or not. And I, like some brave heart, said, no, I will not use music. At least music helps you guide into movement. I said, nay, I will move in silence. And the first thing I did was I turned my back and I'm just thinking, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And then in our classes, moving with 60 other people on a screen. Everyone's in dabbas. And then we had instrumentals and we were given cues and we had to move. And then they brought props for us to work more with movement. All of that, it brought a shift in me, it brought a shift in the process of movement for me, and that alone was enough for me to convince myself to get back to dancing.
Hmm.
For 1 year I had not done Kathak, as in after Kathak Kendra I had not done Kathak. I did not go back to my training. I didn't revisit my learnings. I just thought I don't think I can do it. But it is through dance movement therapy and understanding a lot of things about myself, about the society, and how it impacts you, that I realized that I was also being really harsh on myself. Sometimes people think you're not doing anything, but actually, for me, it was that I was not being able to do anything because I was so harsh on myself all throughout. I never gave myself the space that other people gave me to learn and grow and make mistakes. I was so scared of making mistakes that for me, it was like, if I am not the best, I will not do it. Which is something that I'm sure a lot of people struggle with, that if I'm not good, then I will not get there.
Yeah.
Even that's also the case with me with writing. I could not get myself to be a professional writer because I'm not a writer. I haven't gone to a school. I haven't gotten any education in creative writing,
Yeah.
things like that. But yeah, dance therapy changed a lot for me. Uh, actually started conversing with my family more freely because of dance therapy. It brought,
Really?
yeah, it brought a shift in my interpersonal relationships and the dynamics with people around me. And I became more empathetic and sensitive. And it is also through dance movement therapy that I started therapy. And that I start not just individual counseling but group therapy. So see, it was a requirement from the course, that it was a requirement for the course also, that you have to undergo therapy to be able to practice a form of therapy. But honestly, undergoing therapy was one of the greatest things to have happened to me in 2022 and 23. And that changed a lot for me. I was going through so much, and now my relationships are a lot better with the people around me, I would say, because the relationship with myself is improved over time. So everything actually starts from you, provided you have the privileges and the resources to help you get there, of course. But yeah.
So no, I mean, more power to you, obviously, with everything that you're doing. But something I also again heard from the Kathak podcast that you did, which where you were talking about dance versus dance movement therapy, in the sense that how one can be therapeutic but the other is actual therapy. Can you speak a little bit about that? Because I think this is something a lot of people do, are conflicted about or do get confused by that. Oh, if you're doing something creative, it's therapeutic. So then why do you need a form of therapy with it in the first place, right? That's something that keeps coming up. So how would you kind of address that?
Hmm. So, the feeling of something being therapeutic is very different from actual therapy because therapy is not roses. It's not amazing, like, wow, life has changed. No. Uh, if I take my example, because now I'm okay talking about myself, movement, so dancing and art in general can be very therapeutic. It can be very cathartic also. It can reduce a lot of stress in your body. It can make you feel lighter. It can make you feel more jovial. I would give that. Sure. But when I started therapy, I individual counseling to be more specific, out of 6 sessions, because I had to undergo 6 sessions, I must have cried in four, if not five. So there was a lot to unpack in terms of, my issues, so to speak. Whether it was the relationship I had with myself, whether it was the relationship I had with people around me, my relationship with my career, my studies, my health for that matter, because I have PCOD, and that takes a toll on your body. Like if you're not careful with the things you do, PCOD or PCOS can really affect women adversely, right? So there was a lot for me to unpack in therapy, and I did not realize the importance of therapy, the importance of a safe, non-judgmental space. In fact, we're also so used to being prim and proper because of society, and for me, it was because of my dancing that I felt like I had to carry myself a certain way. I had to look a certain way. I had to feel a certain way. I mean, sometimes I felt like gratitude was forced upon, like, like how people feed gratitude to you, and you have to be grateful, you have to be grateful. I did not have that gratitude or gratefulness in me. Nahi tha. And it took me a lot of time to come around the fact that it's okay to not be grateful 24 by 7. You don't have to practice mindfulness 24 by 7. You don't have to meditate and be calm, because sometimes when you do that, you're suppressing a lot of emotions in you that need to be let out. And therapy was that for me. So therapeutic can be, so that's where I think I would differentiate between something feeling therapeutic and something being actual therapy. Even in dance therapy, like how you mentioned trauma being stored in the hips for women,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So to be able to move your hips freely also, that can feel therapeutic, and therapeutic can matlab, eventually it'll make you feel more comfortable, lighter. That's my understanding of what is therapeutic. But therapy is so much more than feeling therapeutic. It is acknowledging that you have all these emotions in you, and that you have to put in a lot of work to, come to terms with who you are and make room for change and growth and improvement. Feeling therapeutic can be an initial step towards seeking therapy,
true. I agree.
if I were to
Yeah,
put it like that. So, yeah.
yeah. That's amazing. And finally, we've come towards the end, and we always end with these last two questions. So the first one is, what are your aspirations? What are you looking forward to in the near or distant future? This can be personal, professional, creative, whatever.
I haven't thought about it. But if I were to be very instinctive with my answer, it is to honestly take each day as it comes. And I do have some projects in my pipeline. I do have a recording in the month of October, towards the end of October, and there will be a performance that will be premiered by the end of this month. And I have another project coming up by the end of this year, hopefully, if it works out, or early next year. And apart from that, I want to continue taking classes online and offline. I do teach online as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want to continue taking online and offline classes. I want to get done with my dissertation for real. I'm really putting it out there. I want to finish my dissertation anyhow. And I want to find more opportunities for performing as well as practicing dance movement therapy, because I want to explore the professional side of dance therapy.
Yeah, and more power to you. And like I always said, see on this show that, I always encourage my guests to just put out whatever they want. So it's like manifesting it. For some of them, some of those things have come true. So fingers crossed, everything you wish for also comes true for you, for sure. But yeah, final question. I like we spoke about a lot actually. I think just in terms of life and experiences. But still, what is a sort of piece of advice or learning you'd like to share with people? Something you just wish people were more aware of? Again, this can be personal, professional, creative, whatever it is.
A piece of learning that I think I would like to share is a piece of learning that I got from my first guru when I was watching her interview very
Oh,
recently.
okay.
Yeah. And she said that the generation, our generation, has a lot of resources to do what they want, achieve what they want, and work towards the things that they really want to work for. You know, we have so many avenues today. Like up until 25 years ago, dance movement therapy was not a thing in India. It's come now, right? You can actually do a course on anything or make anything a professional avenue. You can actually monetize off of anything thanks to the internet, thanks to consumption of content. The only issue that we, including myself, that we have as a generation, as a collective, is that we don't have the patience for it. The world has become so fast paced that we cannot, like, kind of hold back ourselves a little and see things from like a third person, or get like a larger view of things. We don't zoom out enough, and we don't have the patience to zoom out either. So if we all have a little bit of patience to work towards the things we want to work towards, that can make a lot of difference. So yeah, patience and zooming out.
And on that note of enlightenment, we have come to the end of this interview. But honestly, more power to you, Nanika. I have so much respect for honestly classical dancers in general. Fun fact, maybe not so fun fact. I've learned Bharatanatyam for 5 years, and I knew that it was not for me. So, like, my mom's done her Arangetam and stuff, and she was very keen that I learn, which never happened because I was like, not for me, and I had to like take that call. But so much, I have so much respect for classical dancers because of that, because I understand the kind of rigor you guys have to go through and the sort of discipline and practice, and it's amazing that you've managed to kind of find other avenues for yourself. So truly, more power to you. Thank you so much for being on the show. It was really lovely talking to you. It was a very long conversation, but I think it was a very meaningful conversation. So thank you so much. I hope this was good for you.
Thank you so much for having me, Sangeeta. Yes, very long conversation. I guess I hope the listeners don't skip. I mean, if you do, I understand. I do it too. But yeah, it was lovely having you being able to sit and actually talk about the things that we wanted to talk about. or at least I wanted to talk about. I'll speak for myself. And all the best for your future episodes. And I hope the Closet Writer Chronicles becomes a big, big thing, and like it gets all the attention it deserves. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So that was my conversation with Nainika Mukherjee. I really enjoyed recording this. It was a really long conversation, but I think it was a really meaningful and insightful one. I learned a lot about the world of Kathak. We had a really interesting discussion on mentorship, psychology, therapy, mental health, and there's some really cool recommendations for books which I urge you to check out. Closing this episode with an excerpt from a blog post written and narrated by Nainika. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I'll see you next week with a new guest and a new chronicle to share. Talk soon!
For the longest time, I have resorted to diary entries and writing in journals to declutter my mind, especially in times of distraught and distress. I took that practice and started a blog in 2012 where I mostly wrote about quote unquote painful and quote unquote turbulent teenage years, the frustration of constantly being misunderstood, and other conflicting emotions. I could have removed my embarrassing blog posts and continued writing, but I took the whole blog down the day I turned 18. I believed the fear of negative judgment was far too overpowering for me to take blogging forward. Cut to 2018, when my father kept pitching the idea of starting this blog continuously. I was reluctant because of my mediocre writing skills. Mediocrity is a concept I have always associated myself with from the get go. From academics to Kathak, knowing and accepting that I am not at par with my fellow batchmates was a perpetual, obtrusive feeling that silently moved and merged with my shadows. Moreover, being mediocre took a toll on my intrinsic motivation, thus believing that my qualities or talents had no real value. In 2019, while other students at Kathak Kendra were preparing for their exams, I was in the library. As usual, I had a notebook and a pen. For some reason, I went through every page in that notebook where I stumbled upon some rough notes based on articles I read on The Hindu and The Wire. While I cannot seem to remember the content mentioned in those notes, I do remember making more notes based on my existing notes. I spent hours and hours writing whatever was on my mind, and in no time had I filled nearly 4 to 5 pages. That moment, filled with solitude and non-judgment, led me to restart a blog, which led to the inception of The Movement Seeker. I posted my first blog nearly 3 years ago with the intent to write as I feel. My lack of consistency on this page may not sit well with some people, and others may not seem to care about this page. However, none of this has affected my joy to continue writing on this blog. 6 months ago, when I started writing this piece, I wanted to talk about the tangible outcomes of writing that have left a positive impact, such as thinking clearer, expressing better, phrasing my sentences more articulately, and even landing a part-time job as a writer for a university. But today, as I pick it up from where I left it, I realize that a lot has changed. The outcomes are not so much about the skills I have picked compared to the emotional realizations that have made a difference. I find calm and peace in being a slow and lazy writer on this blog. Maybe it balances out the need for urgency, especially in a fast-paced world, to complete a task, tick things off a checklist, and get things done just for the sake of it. Maybe it provides a sense of agency, autonomy, and freedom, which I could not find or exercise during my formative years. As daunting as it seems, I'm forever in awe of the power of writing. It brings thoughts and concepts to life. It helps break free from the inhibitions of witnessing something intangible take a tangible form. The entire process is exciting, and it is only a matter of time till you become comfortable with this idea. Over time, writing has become an integral part of my day-to-day functioning. It is an outlet that allows me to be amidst all phases. On my good days, it fills me with gratitude. And on my worst days, it lets me be an inconsolable emotional wreck. Despite the changes in my writing style, its personal essence remains intact.